Hello everybody and welcome, I'm Comodin Cam, and today we're going to be ranking every Laserbeak design from worst to best. A fan favourite cassette that comes out of Soundwave. Throughout 40 years, Laserbeak has had a wide range of unique designs that's going to make this very interesting to look at. So, without further ado, let's just dive straight into the tier names. And first up, of course, had to be...
Laserbeak returns, Megatron.
Welcome, Laserbeak. Unlike some of my other warriors, you never fail me.
Now for the second tier...
What more do you want from me?
Jerry, you are my favorite.
And now for the middle tier...
Laserbeak, eject, eject, eject.
And now for the fourth tier...
Laserbeak, you tinfoil turkey.
Now finally, for the worst tier...
Always in every case, very, very, very not good.
Laserbeak.
Huh?
Shut him up.
Ah! Not again!
First up is of course Generation 1. Now originally Buzzsaw was supposed to be the Decepticon spy cassette, but it was swapped to Laserbeak, and I gotta say I much prefer the colours in the cartoon, but I do like the detail that goes into the original toy and artwork. I like the wings, like the detail on that, but I understand why they simplified them. But if there's one thing I've got to favour more when it comes to the original artwork, it's the beak. I would have preferred the beak to have been yellow, but in the cartoon of course it's just a standard grey. Both designs are fantastic, and even in 2025 with the recent 86 Studio Series Soundwave, we're still getting a toy of this original Laserbeak. But before I forget, he did have a Cybertronian mode in the first episode, which is more robotic than the more animalistic look from when he arrives on Earth. I do like this is arguably better. Next up is in Beast Wars, where it's Laserbeak, and this is basically just a recolor of Pterosaur, so I'll knock it down for that, but I do like the colours. Even though it didn't appear in the Beast Wars cartoon, it did appear in Beast Wars Neo, but as Hydra, a completely separate character from Laserbeak. Next up is Armada, and I actually grew up with this Laserbeak because I had the toy of this, and this was like a life-size role-play figure, and I really loved this as a kid. Of course, I wish I had known when I was super little that he was originally a Decepticon, but I think for Armada, with characters being different, it works for Laserbeak to be an Autobot, and, you know, for a few moments he had in the show, it was always cool. Now, he wasn't always orange. The prototype images have a very more red, sort of cyan blue added onto him. I much prefer the all orange. It just works better and it's more appealing. He would return as Soundwave's minion in Transformers Cybertron, but he doesn't turn into a cassette, he turns into a beer barrel. Yeah, I do like the bird mode, but there's not a lot of colour on this design, it's kind of bland. In 2006, in the Timelines toy line, he did get a toy, but it's a redeco of Energon Terracon Dive Bomb, and I don't like this bright orange. I just think this is very jarring and very ugly to look at. Sort of an eyesore is the Generations Laserbeak. Now this is just a redeco of Revenge of the Fallen Skystalker. I don't like the robot mode, but I do like that Raptor F-22. That looks really cool, it just looks like Laserbeak. I mean, they've got the colours right, but the robot mode, yeah, just take that away and you've got a pretty good looking jet. Laserbeak finally started to look more like himself again in the Transformers animated series, where he returned as Soundwave's minion, and he has a badass guitar. I thought it was always unique that they made him a guitar. Of course, it just plays into the show's themes. The head is straight from Generation 1, and I just love this design. It's a very unique Laserbeak. Not really unique, but a bit of a laugh would be the Knights of Unicron Laserbeak. In the artwork, it's more orangey, but the toy itself, it's a red and white, and it's alright, it's cool, it's fun, it's a parody, it's a joke, and that's all it is. Laserbeak isn't really a character of words, but the first time he did speak was in Dark of the Moon, where he was voiced by Keith Sarabiker, and it was just a perfect fit. This is like the one incarnation where I think Laserbeak talking works. You know, it's Michael Bay, it's hyped up, and this is a scary looking bird. I mean, yeah, he is outright menacing, terrifying. I like his look. I don't really care for the Dark of the Moon toys, though. I think they got it wrong in those areas, but when it comes to a CGI model design, this is really cool. But terrifying that he transformed into Bumblebee. Yeah, this guy has the ability to transform into anything. I just thought I'd mention Bumblebee because they actually made a toy of it. He did somewhat have a design in the Bumblebee movie, but it's in the comics, and this is just straight up from the Dark of the Moon with a few alterations. And they changed the head, but when it comes to the layout and the design, it's pretty much Dark of the Moon, just with a different head. The closest we have to what a G1 Bumblebee movie sort of style Laserbeak would look like would be in the cancelled Prime 1 Studio Soundwave and Laserbeak toy. Yeah, unfortunately this was cancelled, but this artwork is fantastic. I love this. This is pretty much the closest we're going to get. Now let's move on to the airline continuity, and we'll start off with the War for Cybertron video game, which looks very similar to his first appearance in episode 1 of the G1 cartoon, of course with his eyes. Without the singular eyes, we just have one big visor, which I really do like, and I'm glad they brought it back for the game. Now in Fall of Cybertron, they were teasing the idea of giving him 2 eyes, but this was just in concept art and not actually in the game itself. He just looked identical to War for Cybertron. But when it comes to this design in particular, I love it. It's one of my favourite Laserbeaks, and I just think the design's really neat. Sort of a hybrid of that is the Ultimate Pop-Up Universe Laserbeak, a book which combines Prime designs and the game and sort of make the designs all in one, and this is just a very modern version of that original G1 design. Now what is modern and somewhat alienating from the rest of the designs is the Transmus Prime Laserbeak. Of course this is a Soundwave that looked completely different compared to the rest of his designs, so of course the same would go for Laserbeak. Yeah, but one thing I didn't like about it is that this Laserbeak felt very, I don't know, it just felt like there was no real personality with this Laserbeak. Even though I like the design, it's really cool. I can't help but deny that the Robots in Disguise Laserbeak is actually 10 times better. I like it. Even though that design is somewhat of a weird hybrid. We've got one with a visor, and then we've got one where it's got 2 singular eyes. I guess it's just whichever is your preference really. Do you prefer the toy, alternate concept versions, or how he actually appeared in RID? Regardless, at the end of the airline continuity with Rescue Bots Academy, Laserbeak finally started to look like his Generation 1 self again, and actually became an Autobot. He had his own little mini arc in the show. You could say this design is just simple and plain, but I like it. He's cute. I like this design, and it works for the show. There's not much to say really when it comes to the comics. We've got one Laserbeak just looking very traditional, and then one which looks incredibly scary in the Transformers G.I. Joe comics. Yeah, this looks really scary actually. And this thing, well, I don't even know what this thing is. Now when it comes to Creo Laserbeak, this is an absolute joke, just a massive stinker. But at least they got it right with the recent LEGO set with Soundwave. But a very messy and unnecessarily complicated version of Laserbeak would be in the Titan's Return, or Power of the... whichever. This is just ugly. It looks like he's just got a giant... like his fat ass is just sticking out. And when it comes to the Shattered Expectations Laserbeak, it's somewhat of a hybrid with Beast Wars, Armada, and Dark of the Moon. A very bad hybrid. But at least, finally, he looks like himself in Cyberverse. I just love that they took that original G1 artwork and toy and just ran with it. And I do like the yellow toes. That is a nice added touch to that original G1 artwork. Next we've got the War for Cybertron Trilogy Laserbeak, which is serviceable, it works, it's actually a good looking updated toy, and of course it has that original G1 Cybertronian mode visor, which is nice. Now for a fresh incarnation of Laserbeak, we have Earthspark, where he's looking very swagger. He looks a lot more cheeky and menacing than ever before, and I really like this. I love the, of course, colours on it. It's really nice, but of course the standout for me is the head design. He just looks so snarky, like he's about to just chat shit about someone. Like the Angry Birds Laserbeak. Dude has just got no aura. Now let's talk about some fan art, because I want to celebrate all the great fan art out there. And first off, we have Torino, which actually makes Laserbeak into a vehicle, and I like this. It's got some elements of Armada to it, while still remaining very G1 accurate, and yeah, this is just a really cool Laserbeak, and I imagine a very massive Laserbeak, considering he's now a car. Next up we have Eggboy09 with a very unique approach here. I like the Cyclops face that he's given this Laserbeak. At first I thought it was Ravage, but it's just based on the colours. I like how they've made the colours more aligned to Soundwave. Yeah, this is really nice. He's a beast and a unit. This is a really interesting take. Alright, next up is Kairito 10, and I love this Laserbeak design. I love how his wings are just so spiky, and he's got the turbines in the middle there. Yeah, of course, fantastic artwork as always, and it really blends with the Soundwave. And yeah, this is just a really good mix of colours, and a very good modern take on Laserbeak. Now for a very spiky approach, we have Callahan Nikolai, and this Laserbeak is really cool. I like the yellow and red mixing with the black and grey, really nice. Yeah, I would not want to touch this bird though, I feel like I'm going to get caught. Next up is Lord Skywarp's design, and I really love this. This is like my ideal version of how Laserbeak would look if he appeared in Bumblebee. This is a really cool approach. I like how spiky and just how menacing he looks. It's a good combination of Dark of the Moon, but also giving it that G1 essence, and it really works. What also really works is our final design by Locus Focus 02. Yeah, this is an absolute unit of a Laserbeak. I love how massive his claws are, and how the wings are just how they're compressed in like that. Yeah, this is a Laserbeak that's asking for trouble, and this is just a really badass design. And there we have it guys, every Laserbeak design ranked from worst to best. Of course, let me know in the comment section below which Laserbeak is your personal favourite. If I had to choose my personal favourite, it's either the High Moon design or Cyberverse. I just love those designs so much. Of course, to keep updated on future ranking videos, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and click that notification bell to get all updates instantly. Until the next video, I've been Comodin Cam, and goodbye.